competence versus chaos, tax cuts. They think that that's something that they can do well on, but also the NHS. They're worried and they need to neutralise Labour attacks on that.
Of course, Scotland is another concern. What's going to happen there with the SNP? Well, joining us now is the former Prime Minister, Labour's Gordon Brown, one of those who is standing down, retiring from the Westminster Parliament in this election. Mr. Brown's just been delivering a speech at the start of the Labour campaign. Mr. Brown, thank you very much indeed. In your speech, you say that the SNP are the willing accomplices, or would be the willing accomplices, of Tory austerity. What do you mean by that?
Well, we've just announced today what we will spend to improve the National Health Service, to tackle youth unemployment, to deal with the problems of food banks and poverty, and of course to give more opportunity to the people of Scotland, and how we will raise some taxes like the banker's bonus tax and the mansion tax to do so across the whole of Britain. But I find that the Scottish National Party have been in an exchange of documents with the Treasury, and in this exchange of documents the SNP have committed themselves to exactly the same spending plan for 2015-16 as the Conservative Party. In other words, far from ending austerity, the Scottish National Party are continuing austerity. Far from tackling these problems that they say they want to tackle, they're actually assuming exactly the same spending as the Conservative Party. And I think people should know that when they talk about all the promises they gave at their conference at the weekend, they're not proposing to do anything about it in the first year of the government.
But let's be clear about this. Are you saying that in Scotland, a Labour government here at Westminster would be spending more than the SNP say they would be spending?
Well, there's zero spending. We are not doing any more borrowing. There is no rise in the deficit, but it will be falling. The debt will be falling. But because we're prepared to raise taxes like the banker's bonus tax, that is money that can go to help provide opportunities for young people. There are 59,000 people unemployed in Scotland. So the money is paid for by taxation, and that allows us to do something right across the whole of Britain, but particularly I'm talking about Scotland today. But yet I find that the Scottish National Party say they are the party to end austerity, they are the party that want to tackle problems of social injustice, and then we find in a document that they have produced and in an exchange of correspondence with the Treasury, it is zero. They've got exactly the same policy as the Conservative Party. They are willing accomplices of Tory spending cuts.
Well, they of course have to work within the constitutional and the economic framework laid down by the UK government until such point as they get independence. But just on those 2 points...
I'm sorry, Adam, you've misunderstood it. This is not that they're accepting that someone else makes the decisions. This is them proposing a zero spending in 2015 and 16. This is the party that says it's going to lead the way in ending austerity, has been discovered and found out because they've got a document which is their own policy, not something forced upon them. Their desire to have zero spending additions in 2015 and 16, and it blows a hole in their whole argument that they can be turned to and relied on to do something about social justice. They are not the party that will end austerity and not the party that will bring about greater social justice.
But what you're saying is a Labour government UK-wide would spend more in Scotland, is that right?
No, my point is this, that the Labour Party has been very honest with people, and it's going to have a banker's bonus tax that you know about. The mansion tax is itself very controversial. The pension fund tax relief is a change that has been argued about to pay for the tuition fees in England, reduction, but it is used for other things in Scotland. And because that money is available by taking tough decisions that the SNP will not take, and of course they've got no North Sea oil revenues to do anything about it either because they've collapsed tenfold, then the SNP have got nothing to offer the people of Scotland in any hope that in the next year they would do anything about the social problems that we face. It's an amazing mistake by the SNP. It's horrifying to me that a party can dine out on being the party of social justice, and then you find when you look at the bold figures that they're going to do absolutely nothing in year one about the problems that they talk about as being urgent and essential to deal with.
But if Labour is going to spend more, it is going to increase the deficit by 30 billion, as the Independent Institute for Fiscal Studies said, isn't it?
No, you've got it wrong again, Adam, and you've really got to go back and look at the figures here. Labour is not going to borrow more.
I'm quoting the Institute for Fiscal Studies.
Well, I'm quoting Ed Balls, the Shadow Chancellor, and you can interview him any time. The problem that you have got into is you're assuming that if you spend money, it's additional borrowing. It's not. If you raise the taxes for the spending that is necessary, and there are some urgent problems we need to deal with, like food banks, like payday lenders, like the problems that people are facing as a result of real poverty that I see in my constituency that I've just demitted office from. And we've got to do something about it. But it's not increasing borrowing, it's not raising the deficit, it's not raising debt, and you really must go back and look at the figures and you'll find that that is exactly the case.
But there is a gap in the figures, is there not, between the amount of tax which Labour says it's going to raise and its spending plans, and that's what the Institute of Fiscal Studies is looking at. We don't have the detail. Maybe there's going to be more taxes than you're telling us about, more than the mansion tax,
well,
more than the top rate.
Look, why don't you go back and look at the figures that Ed Balls has issued? He's been very clear about the changes that he's prepared to make. We have been very clear in Scotland that we're not spending money that is not there because of the changes that we're making in the tax system. I think people do agree that if you could charge a banker's bonus tax and you can help young people get into work, that's as fair as it was when we had the utilities tax in 1997 to make sure that we had a new deal for young people to get into work. And these are costed commitments that are based on revenue that is raised. They do not increase borrowing, the deficit or the debt. And please, I think, for you as a commentator at the beginning of the campaign, go back and look at these figures and you'll find that what I'm saying is absolutely right.
Well, thank you for your answers. I'm asking the questions. Did you accept the characterisation that we had from Jim Murphy, the leader of the Labour Party in Scotland, that under Labour we would have a situation where through the mansion tax England would be paying for more money on the Scottish NHS?
But hold on, Adam. The whole basis of the United Kingdom, and we talked about this during the referendum, is that we pool resources across the whole of the United Kingdom and we share them. North Sea oil resources go to the whole of the United Kingdom. If someone is able to contribute more because of their higher levels of wealth in one part of the country to help pensioners in another country, in another part of the country, that's what we call the fair system of pooling and sharing resources. That's the basis on which the United Kingdom exists. And of course, if we pooled it away, then you would say that only people in a certain area of the country could get the benefit of one reform. And that seems to me to be unfair when there is a pooling and sharing of resources for pensioners that is widely supported by lots of people.
Mr. Brown, it's very nice to get the chance to talk to you. Haven't had that so much in recent years. But what would you say to people who say, well, it's a bit odd for Labour to launch its general election campaign with someone who's actually stepping down as an MP voluntarily?
I'm not launching the general election campaign. Jim Murphy, our leader, is. I hope you can get the information across to you that Jim Murphy is launching the campaign.
But you are the major feature of this election starting day.
No, hold on. I'm here because I was asked to speak at a meeting in Glasgow. Jim Murphy is our leader, who's doing a brilliant job. He's touring the country. He's speaking tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He's launching the Scottish Manifesto. He is the most visible and energetic man I know in politics in Scotland, and he is going to be leading this campaign. And we hope that we will be able to show people in Scotland that we are the party of social justice, and we are the party that will deal with the social problems.
Okay, Mr. Brown, I'm afraid we're going to have to end it there. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Lots more coming up on the start of the general election here on Sky News.